Hello everybody, Jeremy Senpai here. And remember when I reached my 1,000 subscribers, I said that I wanted to do more audio stuff? Well, one of those things is I actually wanted to do anime reviews. So this is kind of something different that we're going to be doing on the channel, where I'll basically take an anime series or even a season of an anime, maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't, and I'll basically review it, come up with some good points on why you should check it out, why you shouldn't. But just a quick nitpick here. I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'm more of an audio guy than I am an editing guy. And I see plenty of other audio guys here on YouTube that mainly do this sort of thing. So think of this as kind of like a podcast sort of thing. But also, if you're watching the video, then you see that I'm actually playing Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. So that's basically how these podcast videos are going to go, pretty much. My voice talking over my gameplay of Uncharted. If that's what you guys like, then by all means. You're welcome to watch, you're welcome to listen, whatever. But that's kind of how this is going to go. So, bottom line, every Monday night at 7, I'm going to review a different anime. If there's an anime that you want me to have a look at, then be sure to tell me down below. But anyway, we're going to get right into the review right here. So, the anime that I felt would probably be the best start to all this is the series Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. And I just want to say that the Gundam series has remained a trademark for anime for the longest time, ever since the 1970s almost. There's just this amazing appeal from people fighting in giant robots, but there's also so many other underlying tones that's come with almost every Gundam series that's come about. And I'm definitely gonna get into this. Iron-Blooded Orphans is one of 4 Gundam series that I've seen. I grew up watching Mobile Fighter G Gundam back when it ran on Toonami. I've recently gotten into Witch from Mercury, and a few months ago I actually started watching Gundam Wing, which I never really got a chance to see back when it was on Toonami. I'll probably have to rewatch G and Wing if I ever want to talk about them on the channel. And as for Witch from Mercury, it's still going on now. I really love that one. That one is definitely worth talking about when it officially ends. But for now, we're talking about Iron-Blooded Orphans. So, one of the main things I should probably do is talk about the main overall plot of Iron-Blooded Orphans. Basically, as the name suggests, we have a whole mess of child soldiers who eventually have to make their rise. They have to establish themselves, and the first thing that really popped into my head was child exploitation, which is incredibly realistic. Because think about it, you basically have a whole group of child soldiers, you're training them, you're taking care of them, and at the same time, they are the disposable ones. They are the cannon fodder that people are getting rid of, that they are sending in. And that, sadly, is pretty relevant, and that is pretty relevant even into today's day and age. Child exploitation can come on many fronts, not just in sex trafficking, but also in terms as being a child soldier. But anyway, the group of child soldiers eventually are given the job to take a diplomat, Kudelia, to Earth, so that way she can appeal for the rights of child soldiers all throughout space. But also, they do meet a few roadblocks along the way. We're talking space pirates, we're talking the space mafia, and of course, given the fact this is a Gundam series, we also have this dictatorial space government, military government, that's taking over every little thing. Hey, it wouldn't be a Gundam series if that wasn't the case, right? But it's also pretty interesting. It really does show, and it really does. It doesn't. It doesn't sugarcoat what these poor kids have to go through just to survive. But as we see later on, they don't just survive; they also thrive. They learn how to do the sort of thing for themselves. They learn how to make a name for themselves. I mean, think about it. In cases like these, they even say on the show that when these kids try to survive, when they try to live day to day, there's not really a luxury for an education. Most of them don't even know how to read or write. I mean, they do learn a little bit down the road, but at the same time, they also do it so that way they can also be better workers, so that way they can be more open to more jobs. Not that different from a lot of children who are the victims of exploitation. Okay, I think I've talked about the gritty stuff enough for now. I kinda want to get to a few positive things here. One of the big things right here is also the relationship I have between the two leads, Mikazuki and Orga. Orga is the thinker and Mikazuki is the doer. These two have immense trust in each other that, in my opinion, they kind of bring out the best in each other. Mikazuki is always looking to Orga like, so what's our next move gonna be? And Orga, he always has to move forward because he knows Mikazuki is always watching him. In a way, these two kids always bring out the best in each other because they know that the other is always watching them. That I actually do have a friend who he and I kind of always have this quiet means of trust and respect. So Mikazuki and Orga kind of remind me of me and my friend whose name I won't share. But another main thing is, of course, having the Gundams in it. In fact, one of the main military commanders, I think is his title, he even points it out, saying that all throughout history, there's always been a Gundam at the turning point when a new era is about to prosper. And that's kind of a nice foreshadowing because things are supposed to turn better, things are supposed to come to light. I mean, they really made this a point in Witch from Mercury, but I'll save that for its own separate review. But another one of my major takeaways is of course the character of Kudelia. Okay, Kudelia, she's only 16 years old. She's a diplomat going to Earth so she can appeal for the rights of children who are at risk of exploitation, of these child soldiers who are put in these unfortunate conditions. And I really do love her. I really do love her development and her growth later on throughout the series. Because, yeah, she does start out in episode 1 as being a bit too idealistic, a bit too naive. And she's 16, that's understandable. She's going to be a bit naive. But when we get later down the road, she really starts to see how her actions can affect people. Not just the child soldiers that she wants to protect, but all people. She is perfectly willing to take on this goddess of victory persona if it means that she can try to bring some element of peace all throughout the galaxy. Not just for child soldiers, but in general. I really love Kudelia's development. It's probably one of my favorite sub-narratives of Iron Blood Orphans. Okay, I've touched on that a bit now, so I'm also going to dive back to about the exploitation just a bit. And what I truly find interesting is that a lot of the older kids, they don't just try to survive for themselves. There are some who are older siblings. They have little sisters who a lot of their pay actually goes back to taking care of them. One of the characters has a sister who's in foster care, and eventually he's even able to get her into a school because of how much success the company eventually does. That's actually pretty similar too, because in most cases, an older sibling will take on more grueling tasks. They'll do whatever it takes in order to survive, mainly for their younger sibling more than they will themselves. One of the best examples I can think of is Nani from Lilo and Stitch, but that's just the best example that popped into my head. And now that I think about it, that's also the example that makes the most sense. Back to what I pointed out a bit earlier, there is a lot of discretion when it comes to child exploitation. In fact, in the very first two episodes, the children are literally sent to go fight the enemy while the adults are actually making a break for it. You have these adult soldiers who are all turning tail and running, and they're sending the kids to go fight. I mean, they're not even backing them up. They are literally just running away, which is incredibly sad on both fronts. You have the adults who are teaching these kids to fight, running away, and you have the kids literally dying like dogs. And I just want to point out, this isn't even a spoiler. This literally happens in the very first two episodes. So, yeah. Alright, I feel like I can't dive into too much more without giving away heavy spoilers. I kind of explained what I really like about the series, and out of all the Gundam series I have so far, it's probably the one I've rewatched the most. So I think you should give it a try. Mobile Suit Gundam Ironblood Orphans. Give it a try if you haven't already. It is an amazingly wonderful and significant Gundam series, and I don't think that you'll be disappointed by it. Anyway, if you like what you hear, feel free to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. This is Jeremy Senpai signing off. Take care, everybody.